Our story today is about a movie called The Boy. Watch out and take care. This girl's name is Greta, and she was working as a nanny. When Greta saw the palace, she was fascinated by it, and here you see the picture of the owners of the palace, a man, his wife and their young son, and here suddenly this boy, his name is Malcolm, and Greta was terrified. She did not feel his entry. Greta met Malcolm, the owner of a grocery store, and Greta liked Malcolm and he also liked her, until the lady of the palace came and introduced her to her husband, and then on a doll that looked like the child with them in the picture, and they told her that he was their son who housed Brahms, and she laughed. Greta thought they were joking, and the lady of the palace continued to teach Greta how she would take care of Brahms, how she would dress him and serve him food and read him a story and hear him music, and they told her that they were going to enjoy a vacation away from the palace. And the owners of the palace bid Greta goodbye, and the first thing she did was put a small blanket on Bram toy. What is this madness? And I went to have some drink, and noticed that the blanket, so I picked him up and threw him on a chair in the next room. Greta relaxed, and fell asleep, and suddenly I heard voices in the house, so Greta went to see what was happening there, and here she looks at Brahms' picture, and once one of them reached out to Brahms and hung her. So she panicked and got up from her sleep, and something strange happened. Greta saw that the toy was crying, but discovered that drops of water fell on him from the ceiling of the room, so she went to check the ceiling, and Malcolm brought the needs of the house, and Greta asked him what is the story of the toy child, and he told her that the owners of the palace had a child of his age 8 years, and then he disappeared, after a fire happened there. And after she killed the little girl who always came to play with Brahms. And then he saw that his parents had brought this game and treated her like their son Bram, and all that was 20 years ago, and Malcolm asked Greta to go out and enjoy some time together. She told him that she was going to take a shower first, and something strange happened to her. When Greta finished bathing, she found that her dress had disappeared, and her chain had disappeared, and she discovered that part of her hair had been cut, and all her clothes had disappeared, and suddenly she discovers that the ladder connected to the ceiling hole is open, and she hears voices up, and Greta went up, and as soon as she got there the ladder withdrew and the sunroof suddenly closed, so Greta started screaming, and at the same time Malcolm came, but he didn't hear her, and thought she had fallen asleep, so he went, and Greta tried to climb up the window and then fell down the stairs, and fainted, until I woke up in the morning. I wished that the roof hatch and the ladder had opened, so I went down and found her clothes are back in the room, and she and Malcolm discover that the stairs are closing automatically, and hear strange things happen, sounds and moves. There was a ghost, and she sees the toy sitting by himself and next to him the task sheet, and suddenly he calls her on the phone, and she hears the voices of a small child and Greta is terrified, as if she thought the toy Jane, so I went and found that he did not see, and here it turns out that the father and mother of Bram had gone to suicide by drowning, and they wrote a letter to Greta to tell her about the matter, and Greta found that she had no choice but to take care of the child Brahms, and treat him like a real child, and hear him music, put food for him and read him stories, and she puts him to sleep on the bed, and follows all the written commandments. But she looks at these behaviors and feels sad and despair, and suddenly it becomes clear to her that the toy is moving from its place, and when Malcolm came, she took Greta to tell him what happened, but at first he did not believe her, until he saw himself, and Greta was happy about it, and told her Malcolm that on the same day as Brahms's birthday on which he was burnt and disappeared, the policeman found his child's body in the woods and her skull was torn, and the police suspected Brahms. But they did not find him because of the fire in the house, and the little girl Emily came to play with Brahms once a week. Therefore Malcolm feared for Greta and he asked her to leave the palace and leave, but Greta's curiosity made her refuse to leave, and she told him that she had promised his parents to take care of him, and here Malcolm and Greta were busy and heard that the music device was playing automatically, and Greta was surprised by the presence of Cole, her friend in the past, who did not treat her well, and asked her to go with him, and he started mocking her because of her interest in toy, but he apologized to her and asked her to prepare to leave with him, and when she went to sleep she spoke with Brahms, and she told him that she would not leave him but that she wanted her to help her get rid of her boyfriend Cole, and indeed Brahms did it and wrote to her in blood, "Get out," and when Cole saw this, he accused Greta of being the one who did it. Then he took him from her and hid him on the ground and destroyed him, and then they heard loud and terrifying sounds in the palace, and banging and noises around them, and suddenly Al-Hayat's mirror was destroyed in Cole's face, and a young man wearing a mask came out of it, and Brahms quarrels with Cole until he stabbed him with a cat from the face of the broken toy, and it became clear to them that this young man is Brahms who disappeared 20 years ago, and was imitating the voices of a small child and moving like a ghost, through the walls of the house. And Vestom stole Greta and her chain, and hid them in that room, and took Bergams is chasing Greta and Malcolm, and he beats Malcolm until he faints, and Greta tries to escape, but she decides to come back, to confront Brahms. I pulled the screwdriver from his stomach until he threw it on the ground, and I ran and then took Malcolm after I was sure that he was still alive. And she drove the car and ran away and left the palace. If you like the video, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that you know about each new video.